The ways painters try to depict human emotions is one of the main themes of the Making Faces exhibition. The exhibition shows how painters across the ages have used expression, distortion and caricature to convey character and social standing, as well as emotion both in individual portraits and group paintings. Modern painters have reduced faces more and more to abstract lines and blocks of colour. In expressionist paintings, one finds distortion, the use of colour to display emotion within a face. Despite the development of photography in the 20th century, there is no sign that the role of the portrait is any less important today. The tulip, introduced to the Netherlands in the late 16th century, lures visitors from across the globe to the flat fields of that country every year. Originated in Persia, the exotic beauty of the tulip became immensely popular with the Dutch, and huge swathes of land were dedicated to the cultivation of tulip bulbs. Being the third largest agricultural exporter in the world, the Netherlands, paradoxically one of the smallest countries in the world, dedicates over 65,000 acres of land to the cultivation of bulbs and flowers. The bulb fields, located in an area west of Amsterdam, are most pretty in April and May, when the arrival of spring turns the barren fields into a unique palette of lush and colourful flowers. But the show doesn't last long. For those wanting to see more, there is the Keukenhof, a garden situated in the heart of the so-called bulb district between the towns of Leiden and Haarlem. With 7 million bulbs ready to bloom between April and May, the garden attracts tens of thousands of visitors each spring. To ensure that the flowers don't all bloom at the same time, the bulbs in the Keukenhof are planted in layers so that the park will look colourful until the park closes. This year, the park is remarkably beautiful. A Malaysian diving and coral conservation group recently transplanted corals in the South China Sea to mark Earth Day. The Coral Reef Conservation Alliance teamed up with Malaysia's Marine Parks Department to transplant the corals and sink an artificial reef at Langtengah Island off the east coast of Terengganu State. Langtengah, sandwiched between the popular Perhentian and Redang Islands, is home to 4 resorts and several dive sites. Holidaymakers are increasingly turning up in Langtengah for a laid-back beach, snorkeling and diving vacation as resorts in other islands fill up with organised tours. Coral called marine park officials to teach divers techniques in transplanting corals before they took the plunge. The divers also brought along a metal leatherback turtle sculpture to be sunk and used as an artificial reef near the coral transplant site. 40 divers took part in the coral transplant, carefully cutting corals from other areas to be transplanted in areas stripped of marine life. They took several hours to complete their transplanting task and then enjoyed leisure dives around the island. organisers said they'd made coral transplanting a trademark effort. United Kingdom's Coral Cay, an organisation dedicated to coral conservation, sent researcher Joanne Wilson to assist in the conservation efforts. She said Coral Cay is conducting a 6-month study around the islands of Terengganu. The divers also released fish around Lang Tenggah to mark the occasion. Thousands of nomads gathered in the Moroccan Sahara to celebrate the festival of Tan Tan. The small town, about 1,000 kilometres south of Rabat, became home to 600 tents set up by the Kingdom of Morocco in partnership with UNESCO. Nomads from all the main Saharan tribes took part in the festival. The activities included camel racing, traditional dance and song, parades and displays of horsemanship. A number of tents were set up to represent different themes. These included the process of tribal arbitration, the teaching of the Quran, marriage ceremonies, tribal games, traditional medicine and costume. Elsewhere, the tents housed art and crafts demonstrations using leather, wood, silver, copper, goat and camel's hair. There were also cooking displays using traditional ingredients. Standing outside the tent for Saharan cuisine, many described the making of the belgman dish, which is sort of like a puree of flour that is moistened with oil from goat's fat and milk. The festival is in line with UNESCO's Intangible Cultural Heritage campaign. The campaign aims to raise awareness of and preserve vulnerable cultural traditions. With strong support from the Moroccan authorities and His Majesty King Mohammed VI, the festival was able to take place after a significant interruption of 30 years. Traditionally, the famous Tan Tan Museum was held every year and was an impressive social and cultural gathering of thousands of nomads from all the main tribes in the region. It was held in honour of Sheikh Ma'al Amin, the most famous and widely known chief of the nomads, who had close links to the Sultan of Morocco. The cultural events went on for several days, and it was common to see long columns of camel drivers, up to 2,000, from an array of families and tribes parading past. At night, there was a unique atmosphere with dance and song taking place around the campfires. The festival was an incredible spectacle that petered out in the 70s because of political unrest in the region. Organisers hope that the renewal of the festival will help preserve these cultural traditions for future generations. Chinese chefs are rustling up a range of Western-style favourites in this restaurant in Beijing. With the Beijing Olympics not far away, Chinese food officials are gearing up to train a whole new generation of chefs in the art of Western cuisine. They worry that the tens of thousands of Olympians and fans who will descend on the city in 2008 may find China's exotic and varied cuisine a little hard to digest. Soon Beijing will have its very own centre to train Western-style food chefs, as well as an international food street that will offer dishes from all over the world. While Western food restaurants are now a common sight in Beijing, they are still few and far between compared to other cities like Shanghai and Guangzhou. China's Dugamen Food Street still plans to serve up an array of favourite local specialties like deep-fried scorpions, chicken feet and crispy silkworms. And in a country where the preferred form of greeting is, "Have you eaten yet?" the Olympics to come may breathe new life into China's cuisine. It's with delicate care that Professor Tajashi Isuyama treats the priceless music score that has only recently come into the possession of the Kunetashi Music College on the outskirts of Tokyo. This sheet is, after all, nearly 300 years old and has recently been authenticated as the original score from Johann Sebastian Bach's wedding cantata BWV 216. Over 80 years it was believed to be lost, only it was found in the private collection of Japanese pianist Chieko Hara when she died in December of 2001. This 8-page work, one of Bach's many wedding cantatas, numbered according to the standard catalogue of his music by Wolfgang Schmader in 1961, contains notes and lyrics written in German and is believed to have been first composed in 1728 for the wedding of the daughter of a customs official. Isuyama led a team of scholars who for some time now have been examining the authenticity of lost musical scores. While it's not clear how the piece got into the possession of the Japanese pianist, Isuyama believes it was passed on from Bach's family to collectors and musicians before reaching the family of German composer Felix Mendelssohn, who had it until around 1926. Experts, including Isuyama, believe Hara's Spanish husband received it from Mendelssohn's family. Isuyama and other researchers like him hope this discovery will compel other collectors to search their attics for more priceless and culturally invaluable pieces that may still be hiding. In the abandoned Cold War bomb shelter on Taiwan's frontline island of Quemoy, artists have installed a music and visual art performance, turning a series of military bunkers into an art museum. This to promote peace in the Taiwan Strait. Quemoy, a barren inlet just 2 kilometers off the coast of China's Fujian province, became the vortex of the Cold War that ensued, enduring a bloody battle with invading communist troops and years of devastating artillery duels. Taiwan and China split after Chinese nationalist general Chiang Kai-shek lost a civil war on the mainland island to Mao Zedong's communists and escaped to the island chain in 1949. Despite some Taiwan entertainers and businessmen being labelled as pro-independence and blacklisted by mainland China, artists from both sides have worked together on the frontline bunkers. The Bunker Museum of Contemporary Art in Quemoy opened with artists, film directors and composers engaging in a cultural exchange that aims to promote peace in the Taiwan Strait. Now, instead of the deathly silence of an abandoned bomb shelter, we hear the music of Bach and Beethoven jar our senses with the boom and screech of a piano being smashed to bits. The composer, Oscar winner Tan Dun, is one of 18 artists from China and Taiwan who are converting some of Quemoy's 2,000 derelict bunkers into multimedia installations, hoping to use art to bridge a bitter political divide. Taiwanese artist Wang Wenqi extends his bunker by building a bamboo and rattan artillery shell-shaped tower and trench. The heavily fortified island had one of the world's densest concentration of landmines at one time, and thousands of mines still lay unearthed today in fenced-off lands. Fujian-born Shen Wan lined her bunker, which sits in the middle of a minefield facing China, with a huge megaphone to symbolize the loudspeakers that used to blare propaganda back and forth across the Taiwan Strait. The exhibition comes as tensions smolder across the strait, with China accelerating its arms build-up to prepare for a possible war. Artists say their bunker museum tries to draw inspiration away from Quemoy's violent history, focusing their art on the backdrop of this idyllic frontline island. A massive old repair shed tucked away on the outskirts of Budapest is now the home of Hungary's old steam engines as they await restoration. Every morning at dawn, Sikora steps echo through a massive repair shed on the outskirts of Budapest. Inside, rows of rusting locomotives, some missing wheels or funnel smokestacks, are waiting for retired railway workers like Sikora to give them a new life. Nearly 2,000 workers once kept hundreds of steam engines in service around the country before they were replaced by cheaper-to-run diesel and electric locomotives in the 1970s. Sikora is one of 34 men, mostly pensioners, still working at Hungarian State Railway Steam Engine Workshop, repairing locomotives for the National Railway Museum and tourism trips. For over a decade, Istvan Sikora and his enthusiast colleagues have been getting the engines back on the rails. Some engines end up pulling vintage trains across Europe. Others go to the nearby Railway Museum. That the locomotives have survived at all is credited to forward-thinking railway workers back in communist times who didn't want to see them disappear. They realized when the steam trains were being phased out, one day there would be a wave of nostalgia for them. The restoration started in the 1980s, just as steam rail preservation was coming into fashion. And with growing numbers of beautifully restored trains at the Hungarian State Railway Museum, visitors are increasing. And they can even travel to the museum on its very own antique train, with regular departures from Western Railway Station in Budapest.